Cali, I mean, Austin, I think was named the greatest city last year, technically.
Mm.
Technically.
Hmm.
But California is also great. I won't lie there.
Yeah, it's nice and sunny lately.
What is it, like 75?
No, it was 84 yesterday.
Nice. That's what it was yesterday too. I think it was 82. Today's supposed to be 85.
Ooh.
No humidity. No humidity. That was big.
Mm. I don't think I've ever been to Austin.
Well, you're missing out. If you wanna stay, you can have my house. Just let me know.
Okay, I'll let you know. Te aviso.
Beautiful. All right, let's jump in. So today we're talking about genetics and body types, the myths and reality when it comes to fat loss and muscle growth. So a lot of people are quick to say, I can't build muscle because of my genetics, or I can't lose the belly fat because of my genetics. So those sorts of things. There's a lot of thought around that. So the big idea, genetics, they do matter, 100%. They matter. I'm not going to say they don't, but they determine your ceiling, your genetic ceiling, how much muscle can you build naturally, your rate of progress, how quick you're able to build muscle, lose fat, where you store the fat. So again, men typically store it in like their gut or their chest. Ladies typically store it in their legs, their hips, their glutes, how easily you gain muscle. So again, genetics do impact these things, but they do not determine whether you can improve. They don't determine whether fat loss works, whether muscle growth works. They don't do that. Genetics influence the speed and shape. Habits determine the outcomes. So part one, here's the body type myth. So you guys might have heard of like ectomorph, mesomorph, or endomorph. So what those are, pretty much ectomorph equals skinny, can't gain muscle. Mesomorph means naturally muscular. These are typically like the athletes. And then endomorph gains fat easily. So you guys might have heard these before, but that's what they are. Reality, though, those categories are outdated and just oversimplified. Humans aren't just like three types. We're on a spectrum. Most people are like a mix of an ectomorph or meso or endomorph. They're not just those three things. And more importantly, body type does not override calorie balance or progressive overload. What genetics actually influence. So number one here is muscle fiber type distribution. Some people have more fast twitch fibers, and those people are typically the ones that are better at strength and power. It's usually the sprinters, the football players, the basketball players, those sorts of things. They're the ones that are going to have more of the fast twitch fibers. More slow twitch fibers, you're typically better at endurance, marathon running, um, cross country, those sorts of things. Fast twitch dominant people may gain muscle slightly easier and just be naturally stronger from a starting standpoint. But everyone has both fiber types. Everyone has both slow twitch and fast twitch in their body. It just let's your chest might be fast twitch, but your calves might be slow twitch dominant in that aspect. Training still works for everyone at the end of the day. And again, having a variation in our training of rep ranges is kind of how we tried to cover our bases here. Number two, hormone levels within natural range. So natural testosterone varies person to person. Higher normal testosterone, if you have higher test naturally, it's going to be easier for you to gain muscle and slightly easier for fat loss. If you have low testosterone, normally, naturally, slower gains, but you're still fully capable of progress. The range matters, but it doesn't determine success alone. Number three, fat distribution. So genetics decide where you store fat first, where you lose fat last. Common patterns, again, lower belly, for usually for men. Love handles, men, both men and women there. Glutes, thighs, typically for women, but some men also could have that where it's common. But you cannot target fat loss. You cannot target the lower belly. You cannot target your love handles or your thighs. Your genetics determine stubborn areas. Calorie deficit determines fat loss. So if you do genetically hold a lot of weight in your gut, let's say, or your belly fat, doing the extra crunches to try to burn that fat there is it's not going to happen. Your body loses fat uniformly, and genetics determines kind of where the stubborn areas kind of stick around longer. Number four, appetite and NEAT differences. Some people naturally move more. They have higher NEAT. Again, NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. People that have higher NEAT, they're the people that are kind of always moving. They're twitchy, fidgeting, those sorts of things. That's a genetic thing. They get full faster and burn more at rest. And I have some clients that are trying to gain weight right now, and they're eating like 3,000, 4,000 calories, and they can't because of their natural genetics. So really increasing that, those are good problems to have, by the way. Some of you are like, I'll take their calories, I bet. Others move less, get hungrier easily, adapt faster to dieting. This explains why two people can eat the same and look different, but behaviors can override those tendencies. At the end of the day, we can still work through some of the genetics. Someone in the chat here, 3,000 sounds ideal for me. Yes, it does, Rich. Yes, it does. Part two, genetics and muscle growth. So the reality, some people just build muscle faster. They respond to lower volumes better. They recover quicker. Others need more volume, progress slower, have smaller frames. So you have a smaller frame, or even if you're very tall, that means you have to actually build more muscle to look more filled out, right? You need to cover more surface area. But even one example is like ladies typically can handle a little bit more volume than men, especially if they're slow twitch dominant. But here's the truth, even bad genetics can still add 20 to 40 plus pounds of muscle naturally over years. You're still able to do it. There's nothing to say that you can't. And just how you get there, how long it takes there, is the difference. So it's the difference isn't whether you grow, it's how quickly and how much. What genetics don't do. So genetics don't break thermodynamics. Again, thermodynamics, if you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose fat. It's non-negotiable. That is physics. Prevent fat loss entirely. They don't do that. Make muscle growth impossible. Again, genetics don't do that. And override that calorie balance again, which is just thermodynamics. They influence efficiency, how fast some of these things happen, but they don't beat physics. Part three, genetics and fat loss. So some people diet and drop weight quickly and they feel fine. Others get hungrier, retain more water, especially if they're naturally stressed or they're more of like a neurotic in that sense, and adapt faster metabolically as well. What I mean by that is if you drop your calories pretty heavily for a couple weeks, some people, their metabolism will adapt to that quicker than others. And their metabolism slows down in that case compared to others. But fat loss still requires calories in versus calories out. Again, if you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose fat. It's non-negotiable. Always, and then genetics influence how hard dieting feels, how aggressive you can push, how long you can sustain it, but they don't eliminate the rules. They don't do it. Part four, the dangerous mindset. So the biggest mistake people make, blaming genetics for inconsistency, lack of tracking, not training hard, sleeping like shit, and weekend overeating. So you may have heard people say like, oh, I just have bad genetics, that's why I can't build muscle, or I just have a lot of belly fat because of my genetics and where my roots originate. But that's not true. Typically, they're excuses and they're not actually taking care of the things that matter most here, consistency in doing these things. Genetics matter most at high levels, and what I mean by that is, like if you're trying to be a professional bodybuilder, like you're genetically capped at some point, and this is why people end up taking steroids and going that route to actually be competitive in that league. If you're trying to do that, make it like a professional career. For most people, execution matters the most. Part five, what actually determines your progress? So, in order of impact, in terms of this is a list here of what's most important to impact results. Number one, calorie balance. Number two, your protein intake. Three, your resistance training consistently. Four, sleep. Stress management. Five, your NEAT activity level, how much you move, walk, etc. And then last on the list is actually genetics. So if you want to make the biggest impact, cover your bases here, focus on these things first before you're quick to say, oh, I have bad genetics. Genetics are real, but they don't sit at the top. The ceiling versus floor concept. So genetics determine your ceiling, again, how much muscle you can really add naturally. Habits determine whether you leave the floor. So ceiling and floor, your habits determine if you even get close to touching your ceiling. Most people never even approach their genetic limit, and that's true because they haven't been actually doing things the right way for years. They'll do it for a few months, maybe a week, and they're like, ah, genetics. It must be the genetics. Key, takeaways. Body types are oversimplified. Again, we're not just one of those three. Genetics influence rate and distribution, not possibility. Everyone can build muscle. Everyone can lose fat. Some will do it faster. Consistency beats good genetics long term. Questions? Silence. No questions. Who thinks they have bad genetics?
Yeah, that's what I'm processing at the moment. Where do I range if I'm building muscle at a faster level? Is probably like one of my questions because I noticed in this cycle I added a lot of volume.
Yeah, you actually are growing really well. So I'd say you have pretty good genetics. The majority of our time prior to this, you were in a calorie deficit. So adding muscle when you're in calorie deficit is still possible, it's just harder and slower.
Mm.
But you take care of what needs to get taken care of, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, I would say the one that I lack the most is sleep.
That's
The
probably
hurts.
90% of people. I'm not
Mhm.
my sleep's not even perfect, but I'm working on it. I got a
Yeah, it's
81
hard.
81 sleep score last night with my Aura ring. I'm happy with it.
Hmm.
Other questions, thoughts? Cool. Easy enough. All right, guys. No other questions. If you do have questions, like I always say, you know where to find me. But in the meantime, everyone have a great weekend and we'll chat more soon. Peace.
Bye.